Hello and welcome to another First Class Cricket Academy podcast. In this podcast today, we are going to be in conversation with Abhi Jhunjunwala, who is an ex-first class cricket player who played for Rajasthan Royals, Sunrisers and Pune Super Giants, and he was also lucky enough to play under Shane Warne and with Shane Warne. At the moment, he is a BBC cricket commentator and also director of a cricket club down in Middlesex. We're luckily joined by him today. Abhi, so how did your experience with Shane Warne happen? Did you play under him? You played with him? Was this a big thing in your career?
Yeah, I played. I've done both actually, under and played with him. So,
as many of you know,
both.
There was some tragic news. Obviously, Shane Warne passing away last week, which you must be very sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think whoever has been part of the team, I've been fortunate enough to know him or not know him. Everyone was sad just because what he brought to the game and the character he was, really. So yeah, it was a tragic news for everyone, I guess. Yeah.
Raj, from experience from watching Shane Warne, it was tragic news for the world.
Yeah, shocking, absolutely shocking. I mean, I don't think anyone knew how to react to it. And it must give everyone in that age bracket, including myself, a bit of a shock that anything can happen to anyone, and there is no fixed batting order here. Anyone can be promoted in the batting order. So it is quite a strange situation, to be honest, and it must be absolutely shocking for his near and dear ones.
Abhi, would you say Shane Warne was one of the best to ever play the game?
I mean, as a sportsman, I wouldn't just call him cricketer. I think one of the best sportsmen, just because what he did for the sport. And he just made leg spin bowling fashionable again, which was a dying art. And looking at him, there's so many people in the world took up the, I started bowling leg spin. I played majority of my cricket till the under 19 levels as a leg spinner. But for whatever reason, I had to switch. But yeah, I mean, so many kids all over the world, not just Australia, took over leg spin. And again, at the moment, you see it's the most fashionable art in T20 cricket or whatever cricket you say. It's one of the best form of bowling again because of him, I guess. And Kumble as well. Anil Kumble, you got to give a lot of credit to him as well. What he did for them, and both of them, what they did for the art of leg spin is just, you can't compare it.
Do you think there will be someone else who can mirror Shane Warne? Is there someone out there at the moment who you think could maybe get to that same level as him?
There's always somebody who comes, right? We often spoke about that no one's going to come close to Sachin's 100 hundreds. Now you see at one point, Virat Kohli was pushing that. So there'll always be someone who's going to born in the next 5-10 years will again end up being a great. But yeah, to do exactly what he did for the game for somebody else would be very hard.
Raj?
Can I ask Abhi a question? What was it like playing under him, and how was he different?
I think I've always maintained it that I've been fortunate enough to play against or under or with one of the most of the cricketers we can think of in the modern day in the last 20 years. And what he did better than everyone else is, first of all, the way he handled the youngsters, and the ability as a leader or as a captain or as a player to bring out the best from every individual. I have been part of a lot of teams and played under a lot of very, very experienced players around the world, but no one could do that. And the way he handled us, genuinely, I mean, just to give an example, I've played 3-4 years of IPL and a lot of first class cricket. The first thing when we went to the camp, he made everyone feel welcome. And obviously after playing, everyone was trying to make it to the first 11 because we have a squad of 28 people. So, to make it into the first 11 is hard work. It's not very easy to get into the first 11. But when he made up his mind, the guys who were going to be in the first 11, he came up to me and told me start of the season that you're going to be playing the first 6 games this year. Even if you get 5 zeros or 6 zeros, you're still going to be playing the 6th game. Doesn't matter what happens. So all I want you to do is go out there and play with freedom. Don't be scared and just enjoy your cricket. And no other captain has ever given me that sort of a confidence in my life.
Do you think that was why he was so good? He gave you that clarity that you knew that you had time, you had that freedom to go out there and express yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what I meant. Like, I have played with so many people. No one has ever given you that sort of a clarity where they promised you a certain number of games and said, now, you know what? You're not going to get dropped for the first 6 games. Doesn't matter if you keep getting ducks. So automatically your fear of failure is out of your head. Now you're thinking of performing and you're trying to play your best cricket. And I think that's how he manages to get the best out of a lot of players.
Raj, anything to add?
Um, I think, with all good captains, obviously, what you spoke about, all good captains, they are ahead of the game, whether it's a longer format or a shorter format. And when I used to see him captain Rajasthan Royals, it always seemed he was ahead of the game. As a player in the side, what did you feel that, or what was the did you realize it after the situation happened? What was it like?
Now, I'll give you a very good example on that. So we were playing this game against Punjab, and we got 170 or 80 odd, and Sangha and Mahila both were batting together, and UV batted before that. And these two guys were literally creaming us. So they were going, they needed 8 or 9 and over, they were going 11 or 12. And this guy who bowled the first over went for 18 or 20. His name was Aditya Dole. So randomly, he brought him back into the attack when they were literally going at 11, 12 and over, and went and stood at the slips. And we all looking at him thinking, has he lost his mind? We need more players stopping boundaries. If we can have another 5, we would need another 5 to win to different parts of the ground to stop the boundaries flowing. And he goes and stands in the slip, and next ball, Jayawardene gets out in the slip. And it's just, I mean, it was mind boggling. And I asked him the question, I'm like, why did you do that? What was the reason behind you for that particular delivery? You went there and stood in the slip. He said, I just had a gut feeling that because Mahila loves playing that dab to third man so much that he's going to, and the way he was bowling, he was going to just look to get a single and get Sangakkara on strike to get the boundaries. And I just felt that there is a chance that he might nick it to me. And it happened next ball.
Wow. I suppose
so that's something, you can sense that he's a genius.
Yeah. Well, moving on from obviously what sounds a really good story from who I would say is one of the greatest players to ever play cricket. Coming on to T20 cricket, India recently moved into up to the top of the T20 rankings and have recently won the Under-19 World Cup. Abhi, what has brought them to this success? Why is it that India have been so successful in this Under-19 competition?
There's 1.4 billion people. Every kid want to play cricket. It's that simple as that. And also it's just, I think the sheer number of, I think the hours the cricketers do in India, I don't think any kid in the world can do those number of hours. And for instance, I mean, a kid in England who's playing cricket, even if he wants to play professionally, in the winter, how many hours would he do in a week? I would say at best he would do 4 or 5 hours. Kids in India are doing 5 hours a day. So you're comparing somebody who's doing 5 hours a week to 30 hours a week or whatever. I mean, just with sheer numbers, how do you compete? And that's why I think, and also the coaching structure is completely different. The way they are taught in India is completely different than this country and then England. Because here, I think since the white ball resurgence for English cricket, the focus has gone down completely on, I think more, I would say, on players trying to hit 4s and 6s rather than the basic technique. So I don't think England at the moment is producing a lot of cricketers. They're producing a lot of sloggers and a lot of hitters, but the basics are not there. So they are missing. And I think that's again a massive difference in Indian cricket, where the basics are still very, very strong.
Raj, got anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to forget the state sides or guys who are playing age group cricket, if you go to any academy in India, the practice days are normally Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be a 3-hour slot. So anyone, it is not the state players, anyone who comes to that academy is practicing 9 hours a day, 9 hours a week. Now, boy, you are in the age group pathway. Unless you came to Worth, where we do about 12 hours of cricket a week, say, how are you going to, as Avi said, how are you going to hit those number of hours and hence bowl that number of balls or hit that number of balls? And once your basics are in place, it's a volume game. So uh, that's why I think they take the cake, and the structure of coaching is such. See, in our culture, the meaning of coach is equal to a guru. And in our culture, we do not believe in the fact that you only talk the talk. We believe in people who have walked the walk to talk the talk,
Hmm.
not just talk the talk by reading some papers and books. So the guys who come into coaching are actually cricketers, and you will not get anywhere near a state side as a coach if you are not an ex first class player.
Hmm.
So that makes a massive difference. And if you go through the entire pathway in Indian cricket, in state cricket as an under 15, 17, the boys learn to play red ball cricket first. And when they are mature, they move to white ball cricket, not the other way around. On top of that, the job of the states is not to make a profit of 1,500 pounds at the end of the year. The job of the states is to produce a player for India. Whether they make a profit or loss is immaterial. Okay. So the mindset is completely different. The mindset is towards excellence. Mindset is not towards hospitality numbers.
Avi, Raj was talking there about how how important it is to start off playing red ball. To you, is that a key element of trying to get up to that international stage from a young age?
I think it is very important to play red ball cricket. Also, in India, we get a lot of longer version cricket, which you don't get for youngsters. For even an under 14 kid here, they hardly ever play anything more than 20-25 overs. Unless they are in the county pathway, I don't know if they get a longer version of games. Sometimes they do. They play a couple of 2-day games or whatever. I don't know. Some counties maybe. But if they're not playing those 2-day matches or at least 40, 50, 60 over matches, how do they technically improve? Because in 20 overs, you only get 20, 25 balls each at max if you're lucky. And in those 25 balls, if you're coming out scoring 15, the coach is not happy. The parents aren't happy because they expect you to score at a strike rate of 150 when you're 13, which is it's not possible, unfortunately, because your maturity level is not there. Your skill is the most importantly, your skill is not there. You're not skillful enough to be able to score runs at that pace. So I think, yeah, I mean, the setup needs to change a little bit. They need to give kids longer games if they want really to improve and become a good test side in the future. If the focus is only T10, T20, if something else comes in 10 years time, T5, then yeah, England will be absolutely fine. But if they want to produce cricketers who are going to succeed in the longer format, they've got to change the structure from the root level.
Raj,
Also, one thing you got to understand is the guy who comes through the ranks in India playing cricket, the first thing he learns is his survival. Okay, because in India, I'm sure Avi will agree with me here. If you come through school cricket or club cricket, you have. I went to a school of 1,200 boys, and we had two teams, one under 19 and one under 15. There is none of this system of A, B, C, D, E, 15E, and 14Z teams. So if you're good, you get in. If you're not good, you don't get in. As simple as that. So you have to be of a certain quality to get in and then get into the 11. If you are not in the 11 and you are in the 15, so you have to be supplying drinks and towels till your turn comes. Okay. And your turn will come when someone does badly or gets injured. And then you make sure that you keep your place in that side. So that starts pretty early, right at schoolboy level. It's not that I'm not playing in the first, I'm playing in the second, I'm not playing in the second, I'm playing in the third, because it doesn't work like that. So when we start coming through the ranks, we know how to look after ourselves in a team, and survive in that, because if you don't learn that, how are you going to look after yourself? That is why a boy who comes, or a girl who comes through the system there, is quite street smart, and he or she knows how to handle themselves. That's another big thing. And if you go for any courses and coaching courses and all this at counties, ECP, wherever, there is something they talk about is what is mental toughness and resilience, right? Now, an Indian kid, when he's given feedback by the coaches, there is none of this jolly good, well tried, all that nonsense. It will be plain, honest, straight feedback, what you can do, what you can't do. You either do it or get lost. As simple as that. Because if you don't do it, there will be 30 others who are going to take your place. Okay. So I'm giving you examples. Say as a 15-year-old, if you don't get in line when it's a short ball, you'll be told once, you'll be told twice. Then you'll be told as long as you're a chicken, you're not going to get into the side. Same. So it'll be someone else who will take your place. So the feedback is ready, feedback is straight. And if you can handle it, you go through up the ranks. If you can't handle it, you don't get through. So if you get through, then naturally you have come the hard way. So you are going to be a bit mentally tough. You are going to be resilient. Have you ever heard of an Indian player leaving a series midway in an India-Pakistan series and going home? Have you ever heard? No. Have you ever heard that an Indian player leaving a World Cup and saying that I can't hack it anymore and going home? I haven't heard it. But why does that happen? Because all of a sudden, a player is pushed to a place where it is so difficult, so uncomfortable that they are not used to it. But the Indian boy is used to it. He's seen life the tough way. He's it's There is no mollycoddling as he's coming up through the ranks. This is what you need to do. Can you do it? If you can't do it, X will do it. If X can't do it, Y will do it.
Abhi, how important is it to have that clarity from your coach that he tells you the truth and not sort of messes you about in a way, not lying about your game? He's telling you how it is.
Yeah, I think it's as Raj was saying, it's very, very important because as a player, I don't want to be misled. If I'm aspiring to play in first class cricket, international cricket, or cricket at the highest level, I need to know where I stand. And again, that's something which the court needs to realize, that if that particular individual is looking to get to that level, if he wants to achieve that level, because see, a lot of kids just play for fun, and their parents are pretty clear about that. It's not like India, where every child who comes to the academy, he just doesn't turn up because he wants to play cricket. They all want to play for the country. They all want to play in the IPL. They all want to play Ranji Trophy cricket. So the mindset is very different. Here you see a lot of kids who just turn up, they do different sports. In India, kids only play one sport. Majority of the kids who play cricket, they all want to play cricket. They don't play any other sport. But here, either you're playing rugby in a rugby season, you're playing football, you're playing different games, and it's all seasonal. Cricket is a seasonal game. Cricket is a summer game. So a lot of kids just do it because either their parents want them to do it, or they just want to have fun with their friends. You wouldn't come across a lot of kids, even with a setup of say 500 kids. You'll probably pick 5 or 6 kids who really want to play cricket and want to play properly. The rest of the kids are just there to muck around really and have a bit of fun, learn about the game, and that's it. So the mindset is very, very different. So for those kids, yes, I think from the coach's point of view, the message has to be very clear and very straightforward. But with a lot of kids, I just think, because if you know as a coach that they're not really serious, they don't want to get to that level, then I mean it's fine. It doesn't really matter what message you're giving.
Raj, do you have a problem with people that play the game and are just playing for fun? Do you
I
mind
don't
that?
have I don't have a problem with anyone playing for fun. What I have a problem is, say when you have these club structures, right? If you have, say, a first team, second team, third team, fourth team, whatever, right? Now, if in the third team you are picking everyone who's playing for fun, I've got no problem. But there are young kids who are coming through the system, and they could be a 13-year-old who's really good. Now, when that 13-year-old's space is taken up by someone who's 35 years old and he has never played even first team cricket, can't see his own toes, right? And the space of the young player is taken out. That is what I'm against. What is the point in this guy playing? But this 13-year-old, if he gets the opportunity, he might go somewhere. So there should be a clarity that this team is fully social. So there should be no mixture of this. See, the system of first, second, third team cricket would be fantastic if that system was applicable in India, where everyone wants to play and go up the chain. That is a fantastic system to have. But the moment there is this mixture of real cricket and thirsty cricket, that is where the problem starts. Then you start getting people not picking a decent youngster because he's not going to be his drinking mate. Now, how is that helping the game?
Mm.
So that clarity is really important. Like, I know now there are a couple of kids at our academy who should be playing second team cricket at one of the clubs in the locality. But they have been told, oh no, we won't play you. We have got a decent side. No, you haven't got anyone. The guy who's playing in your second team is 40 years old. He's not going to help any youngster because he doesn't have any clue about the game. He has been a second teamer or a third teamer all his life. So that, when it stops a youngster from coming forward, that is what I am against.
Avi, do you think that could be the problem in England? Maybe that is, they're not getting, maybe kids aren't getting the opportunity as much. Is that, or that, do you reckon that's not the reason?
I think that's one of the reasons, and I think that that clarity has to come from the club really. And to be honest, in our club we discussed it in details, and we're changing the whole structure because I think the third team and the fourth team should be a feeder to the second and the first. They should be allowing at least 3 or 4 youngsters who are coming up the ranks to start playing senior cricket, adult cricket, and then they progress it to the second team, first team, county, wherever. But that message has to be very clear from each club really, and they need to come up with the clarity. Is that a social club, or if we have a junior section, then are we really trying to push them forward, and are we really trying to create players here, or are we just doing it because socially it makes a lot of sense, and the subscription keeps the club going, and that's one of the main reasons as well. So I think that clarity, as Raj said, is very, very important. And yeah, if you have a 13 14, the structure could work brilliantly if those third and fourth team could work as a feeder to the second, first, and for the progression of those kids. But if you're not allowing that, then what's the point of having that structure? And which we have seen in so many clubs, but that's what happens because the youngsters are not given opportunity because they always want to select their mates. And it's just, yeah, I know a 40-year-old, I'm not saying that a 40-year-old shouldn't play cricket, but a 40-year-old shouldn't be playing cricket where you have a 14-year-old who has a career, who can make a career out of the game. You shouldn't be stopping that 14-year-old to be selected for the third or the fourth team just because a 40-year-old fancies a game of cricket.
And the 40-year-old, if it's I'm giving an example, if the 40-year-old is someone who was a regular first teamer before and now he is playing at a lower level, that is fine. But the 40-year-old has never been a first teamer. He has spent his entire life in second and third. Why is he taking the space of a youngster? He's not going to bring anything to the party, right? He's crap. That's why he has never played first team cricket. So why is he blocking a young player?
Raj, was there a point in your club cricket career that someone was there a point when you were playing club cricket in India and someone was in the team, 40 years of age, and they were literally there because they had their mates there?
Mm, Not really. We didn't have that because in our part everyone is a paid player,
Hmm.
right? So you have to, earn your money as such. So the senior guy who's getting paid also, he has to perform to keep his place. And club cricket in India is very similar to the structure of how club cricket is in some Yorkshire leagues, where the profile of the player is the current pro, the ex pro, the future pro, and the very good player who missed the pro cut by a whisker. So that is the profile of the people playing. There are very few £4.50 players, as I call them, right? Who pay £4.50, they are guaranteed 3 overs and bat at 7. So that is more prevalent down south. But in the Liverpool comp, or if you see the Bradford leagues, um, the profile of players is completely different. And that's the reason, if you do well in the Bradford league, if you do well in the Liverpool comp, if you do well in the Birmingham league, if you do well in what league is that? In the Lancashire League, there is one league. If you do well in those leagues, there are about 7 or 8 counties who look at those scores. Like at the moment, we are in the Sussex League. I don't know about the Middlesex League, I can't say. There are guys who score runs for fun in the Sussex Premier, but they are nowhere near the county squad. They're giving contracts with people of 17, 18, 19 who haven't got a Premier League 50, Premier League 100, Premier League 5 wickets.
Avi, would you say it's easier to get picked up in the league, in the Surrey League than Sussex League, or would you say
I,
it's very
I know I play in the Middlesex League, so yeah, I would completely go with that. I think that system needs to completely change, really, because in our league as well, I've seen some very, very, very good players who play in the Middlesex Premier League, and we get a lot of ex pros or the pros who are still playing for Middlesex to come and play when they're not playing or not selected for their side for that particular game. But yeah, I mean, there is no room for late bloomers, as I always call in England cricket. So you're not allowing anybody to, bloom at the age of 18 or 19. By the time, if they're not in your system or not in the academy pathway, you're saying that a player cannot bloom at the age of 18, 19, 20. Their career is done. Even if you suddenly come out of your age and you become a gun player in club cricket and you're scoring 6, 7, 800s, if you are, you're still not going to be looked into. You're still not going to get picked for the county setup, just because we have invested so much money in these cricketers from the age of 13 or 14. Even if they're not good enough at the age of 19, we're still going to pick them because the investment we have made in the last 5 years, which I find baffling, if you ask me.
Rod?
And tell me this, out of those guys who are making that decision of that young player, 95% of them, the guys who are making the decision, have never been paid a pound to play cricket. So if your GP, Avi's GP, my GP, when they qualified, right? Who qualified them? A doctor. Agreed? Yes or no? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you are flying in an aeroplane, the guy who qualified the pilot who's going to fly that aeroplane is a pilot. So how come there is this player, the players who, the coaches who make the decision whether this guy is good enough to be paid in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, 95% of them have never been paid a pound to play cricket. How is that? And then you are relying on their judgment. Their judgment is as good as my mom's. My mom has seen a lot of cricket in TV.
I think she'll have a better judgment, though.
Yeah, but how is that right? The England
You ask me.
under 19 coach was a guy who was a Royal Marine. who never hit a ball through mid-off. The guy who was head of spin bowling in England had never bowled a ball in Premier League cricket. Do you think this is sane? Is that ever going to happen in our part of the world? Are you mad?
So I'll give you an example now. So recently, India lost coaching. So anybody who's played over 75 first-class matches, they were all called to do this course in India at the National Cricket Academy. So I'm talking about, because I know the guys and we spoke about this and whatever. And so they were giving a perfect this, that if you do the level 2, this is what you're going to get as a coaching job. If you do the level 3, this is what you're going to get. If you do this, you're going to get that much work. If women cricket or men's cricket, whatever. The funny part is, so these guys have all turned up there playing 75, 80, 90, 100 first-class games. And the guys who are doing the course, who are telling them that you don't know anything about the game, half of them have not even played first-class cricket. And they're standing there and telling, and we were just having, and imagine now we have to listen to these guys who have not even played first-class cricket, and the cutoff is 75 first-class games to be in that course. It's like, what are you projecting here? So so these sort of things, needs to change. And it happens all over. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in India. Even in India, that happens but people need to realize reading books, doing a course doesn't give you that experience what you get while playing at the highest level. You live day in, day out. A guy who has not ever played at that level cannot tell you how to go out there and bat when it's 40 for 4. It's impossible, because he has not been in that situation to understand what it takes to score 100 from when the team is from 40 for 4. So how can you put those people in such important roles where they wouldn't even know how to guide a youngster? So I think that decision needs to be taken by the authorities or by the guys who are taking those big calls, which is very important to get the right pathway and create the right structure in any country.
Right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It just baffles me how it can happen. I don't walk into the physics department and tell the head of physics how to go about his business and which guy should be getting more marks, which guy should be getting lower grades. So how's someone who's played club cricket, batted 11, bowled fifth change, paid £4.50 all his life, making the call on whether you or X or Y or Z is good enough to play first class cricket?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Well, moving from club cricket in England to IPL cricket, right? Avi, what was it like to experience playing for Rajasthan and Sunrisers and Pune at such an early stage in the IPL?
It was an unbelievable experience for anybody who was involved with that tournament. Obviously it changed world cricket, not just Indian cricket. And I think what it did was it encouraged a lot of people to take up the sport all over the world, not just India. And the way it changed the life financially for players, which is I think it's a huge plus, given the way cricket was progressing pre-IPL and post-IPL. It's changed so many lives. And I'm not just talking about players. I'm talking about support staff. I'm talking about people who gets involved. There's around 5,000 people who get involved during the IPL in India. And, not 5,000, sorry, the number's a lot more. If you take all the ground staff and everything, so it's huge numbers. And yeah, it's just changed the whole demographic. And for players, it's given them the opportunity to play against the best, which you wouldn't unless you're playing international cricket. And for international players, also, it's a great opportunity to learn about a culture in different parts of and go through India and learn so many different things about the whole about the country. So I think it's been only positive, if you ask me.
Raj, the IPL is probably the most successful limited overs format in the world. The EC being introduced 100, trying to most probably mirror what India have done. Why is it that this has not been as successful as the IPL? Is it due to how many players like cricket from England to India, or is it that the market isn't just there as the IPL is just too big?
Firstly, you got to understand what sells in India. In India, 4 things sell. One is Bollywood, one is cricket, third is religion, and fourth is politics. These are the four things that sell in India. IPL is a perfect marriage of Bollywood and cricket. And on top of that, we have the weather for it. Okay. So if you've got Bollywood and cricket, which is mega eyeballs, that's a that's an event which is obviously going to hit the mark. And the sad thing for England is England invented T20, but drank coffee and had meetings when Lalit Modi and BCCI ran with it and produced the IPL, and they forgot to patent it. And to claw some advantage and financial security back, they started this 100, which is, I don't understand anything of it, and it's just too complicated. My life has been in cricket, but I don't understand this, I don't want to understand this, and I'm better off without it.
Have you got anything to add on the 100?
I think 100, I think biggest positive for 100 is women cricket, that it gave our women opportunity to be on TV. And going forward, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you will see that women cricket will change completely. They'll be a lot more competitive. You'll see players improving a lot, because the more you put stuff on TV, the more commercially viable it is, the more money you're going to generate through sponsorships. So I think, yeah, for in terms of that, I think it was successful, because the amount of young girls who went to watch the hundreds, and it brought the crowd to the ground. And apart from format, I think it's still too early. There are few things I like about the hundreds, few things I don't, but I'm not as against as Raj is. So I wouldn't say I'm completely anti-hundreds. So there are few things, but yeah, I think but the biggest bonus is women cricket in the hundreds. I really think that's something which was needed.
Raj, got anything to add before we?
I think, yes, it has got popular, but there's something about women's cricket, because I was quite involved with this for a few years. Now, until the authorities do something about this, women's cricket is not going to be appealing to the bigger audience as such. There are and women's cricket, unless very few players, some of the Australian girls are bowling, or when, say, someone like Catherine Brunt, when she was at her peak, or Jhulan was at her peak bowling, majority of the bowlers, you see, if their seamers are bowling, keeper is up. Now, any sport, the essence of any sport is speed. If you see women's tennis and Serena Williams and Venus Williams, it is speed, right? Any sport is based on speed. And the moment you don't have speed, and the speed is not just trying to manufacture speed by reducing size of boundaries, you have to have speed in the ball that you're playing. And the only way to get that is reducing the length of the wicket. If they reduce the length of the wicket to 20 yards, what is going to happen is the quality of the game is going to get better. It's not going to be like watching paint dry, and the better players are going to be coming into the game, rather than at the moment you see a lot of hackers just getting away because it is too slow. There is no pace on the ball. I mean, that pace is very difficult to play proper shots down the ground. You have to go long on deep mid wicket because of the pace on the ball. And unless that length of the wicket is shortened, all this will be very artificial for a short time. In the long run, I don't think it is going to work.
Have you got anything to add before we finish up?
I think that's a good point. I think by reducing the size of the pitch could really help women cricket. As Raj said, that the bowlers can bowl a bit quicker. Even if they don't bowl quicker, the ball will come quicker on the bat because of those 2 yards. So I think that's something. If again, it's for the higher authorities to have a look. If they think that that's going to make a difference to the game, they should definitely look into it. And yeah, I think I'm just hoping that women cricket kicks on. And but one thing I always felt that you got to look at it as a. I mean, people make a mistake when they start comparing it with men's cricket. You cannot compare it. So you cannot compare women cricket and men cricket, because there will be difference. So you got to look at it as a completely different sport. I didn't mean to say different sport, but you got to have an open mind when you're watching women cricket. So you can't expect the same sort of things as you're expecting from men's cricket. Yeah.
Raj, is that it for you? Or you got anything to?
That's it. I think we're done.
Abhi, thank you very much for coming on to our podcast for today. Raj, as usual, thank you to you as well. I suppose this podcast, we could say, is in remembrance of one of the greatest players to ever play cricket, and that was Shane Warne.